In this video, I'm going to be going over 50 creatures with unique abilities in Ark Survival Ascended. Now, a lot of these are going to be for beginner players that are probably newer to the game, but some of these could be new to some older players because some of them aren't from new creatures or just unknown abilities. But anyway, let's get into it. The first creature we have on the list is the Iguanodon. And this one's actually got two pretty unique abilities. The first one is it can turn berries into seeds if they're in its inventory. You just pull up the radial menu and then you can transfer them into seeds. It also has the ability to never drain stamina when it's running on 4 legs, which makes it great for travel and just a great early game mount. The second creature is the Dimetrodon. This one actually works as a mobile AC unit. You can throw eggs near it and then they will actually get insulated and start to hatch. So if you don't have an aircon or an AC unit, you can hatch eggs with the Dimetrodon instead. After that, we have the Mammoth at number 3. This one has a lot of abilities, but I'm going to go over one that a lot of people don't know about, and it's the ability to roar in water and it will hydrate itself. It'll basically like shoot water out of its trunk and then it will fill up your water, and if you do that, it will actually save an extra blow of water, I guess, so you can just get some extra water while you're somewhere else. And number 4 is the Oviraptor. This one has a new ability in Ark Ascended that it can basically pick up eggs, fertilized or non-fertilized, that get laid. It could do something similar to this in Ark Survival Evolved. It could pick up, I believe, like wyvern eggs and stuff if you had it whistle like follow near them, but now it can actually just pick up any eggs that are around it, making it super useful. And then you can also choose if you want it to pick up fertilized or non-fertilized eggs. After that, at number 5 is the Equus. This one has 2 abilities that are actually pretty cool, and both of them are completely unique to the Equus. First off, it has the lasso, which you can use to move unconscious creatures, and you can actually move pretty big creatures. You can even move up stuff to the size of a Quetzal. So if something like gets knocked out underwater or something, you can move it with the lasso. And it also has a mortar and pestle on its saddle, which I think is the only creature to have a mortar and pestle on its saddle. So you can make stuff in there. It's also got weight reductions on tons of the materials you would use in the mortar and pestle as well. Number 9 is the Procoptodon. This one has the ability to store stuff in its pouch. You can put creatures in there, like small ones or baby creatures. You can even put yourself in there too, but you can't really go into orbit camera, so you can't really see what it looks like, but you can have 2 people in here, which is kind of cool. At number 7 is the Direwolf. This one also has a really unique ability, especially to the Direwolf. This is the Sniff ability. If you do the Sniff, it can do 2 different things. It can sniff out Explorer notes, so you can see their locations in the area, as well as you can see Perlovias, which is especially useful in the Ice Cave where there's a ton of those, but you can just see them all around so you don't get attacked and stunned by them. Number 8 is the Bilzabufo, or the Giant Frog. This one actually has a super useful ability. If you kill things like Meganeras with it, they'll actually give you cementing paste. So this makes it so you can gather a ton of cementing paste. That way you can go into caves that have a bunch of bugs and gather cementing paste. But overall, it's a super useful ability. And after that, we have the Anglerfish. The Anglerfish can be used to harvest silica pearls. So you can get tons of silica pearls from the little areas at the bottom of the ocean, and it's like the most effective way to gather them in the game. At number 10 is the Basilisk. This one has a few abilities. First off, it gets health way faster if you go up to the surface, but it also has the ability to give you insulation. So as you can see, I was cold before, but then I had insulation when I got on it, and compared to normal, I have 618 cold resistance and 537 heat resistance, which is quite a lot. And number 11 is the Mesopithecus, or the little monkey. This one has a pretty cool ability that's probably only useful in PvP, but if you throw it inside of buildings, you can whistle it to come towards you and it will unlock the doors. And number 12 is the Kairuku, or the penguin. If you do manage to tame these things, they do have one use, and it's they give you insulation. So if you're near them, they give you insulation. So you can see I have 56 cold resistance while I'm not near them, but when I am near them, I have 97. So you get a little bit, and the more you have, the more insulation it gives you. Number 13 is the Ichthyosaurus. This one actually has a pretty unique ability. Basically, it is immune to torpor damage from the Eurypterids. So if they're attacking you, which normally they deal a ton of torpor damage, you won't take torpor from them. And they give you black pearls, so you can actually use the Ichthyosaurus to gather black pearls. Number 14 is the Achatina, and the Achatina has a pretty cool ability, even though these things are hard to kind of get because you need to get sweet veggie cakes in order to tame them. But if you do that, they will actually poop out cementing paste, and I think they'll even generate it in their inventory as well, so you can get some cementing paste from these things. Number 15 is the Diplocaulus. This one's main ability is that it can just give you oxygen when you're riding it, but it also has the ability to deal extra damage to trilobites. As you can see, I'm doing 1,000 damage to trilobites right here, which normally doesn't do 1,000 damage. so you can kill them pretty easily and gather resources from them that way. Number 16 is the otter. This one has two very useful abilities. First off, if it's on your shoulders, it'll actually give you insulation. I believe I had like 200 something cold resistance, which is really good. And it can also hold multiple of the same artifact in its inventory, which means that you can go and gather tons of artifacts all on the same cave run. Number 17 is the Ceratosaurus. This is one of the newer creatures added to the game, and this one has a pretty cool ability, and it's the healing thing. Basically, if you're attacking something, there will be like this purple, like, I don't know, poison stuff coming out of them, and if you deal enough damage, it'll actually give you health back, and it will give it to any near tamed carnivores as well. And number 18 is the Mantis. The main ability on this thing is it can hold things in its hands, such as weapons like swords, and you can also put things like picks, hatchets to harvest resources. But you can also put things like armor in there as well, which is a lesser known thing or fact about them. And that means you can have 2 armor slots, the saddle being one of them and the hands being another one, which is really dope. So you can have tons of armor on the Mantis with this thing. After that, we have the Rhinognatha. This thing has a ton of different abilities, but the main one I want to go over is the ability to pick up structures, specifically like vaults and stuff. You could pick up all of them and keep their resources in them as well, and you can move them, which I think on Ark Survival Evolved was better because you couldn't pick them up on single player anyway, but it's still great on stuff like Official because you can't pick up structures after you place them after like 30 seconds or so, so being able to pick them up with the Rhinognatha is super useful. Number 20 is the Ichthyornis. This one has the ability to go in hunt mode, where it will basically dive and get fish to attack it. Now, I've heard this one is messed up from comments that I've gotten, and it basically like barely works. I had to whistle attack to get it to work, but you shouldn't be using these things anyway. You should just be killing them because they're horrible, and I hate them. And number 21 is the Pelagornis. This one might seem not that useful as kind of just a weak flyer, but it actually has a really good use, being able to harvest organic polymer from the Kairuku. Mainly the baby ones give a lot more organic polymer, which is pretty horrible, but if you want a bunch of polymer, which you're going to need because of course lots of things in Ark take polymer, then killing baby penguins with a Pelagornis is the way to go. After that, we have the Hesperornis. This one has 2 abilities. First off, it can lay golden eggs, which you can use for kibble and stuff like that, and it also has the ability to insta-kill fish. Whatever fish there is, it will insta-kill it. It does like 100 million damage to them, I'm pretty sure, but that's just to make sure it insta-kills them. Number 23 is the Gigantopithecus. This one has the ability to pick up shoulder pets. Now, every time I've tried this, it takes forever, and it takes me like 5 minutes just to get it to work, and like previously when I mentioned this in a video, I had tons of comments saying it was because I wasn't holding the button. But I was holding the button, and I was holding the button this time, and it still took tons of tries. It's just really finicky to get it to work, but they can pick up shoulder pets. And number 24 is the Merlatops. This one is found on Scorched Earth and is one of the most useful starter tames on that map because of a few abilities, mainly being able to hold water in its hump, but you can also irrigate things with it as well, which is new to Ark Survival Ascended. You can basically have it irrigate the crops nearby, and it will kind of puke out water onto them. After that, at number 25, we have the Dire Bear. This one has the ability to give you insulation while you're riding it. As you can see right here, I have 56 cold resistance and negative 24 heat resistance, but when I'm riding the Dire Bear, it goes up to 90 cold resistance and 9 heat resistance. After that, at 26 is the Phoenix. This one is kind of rare and hard to tame, but if you do, it has the ability to poop out silica pearls, so you basically have an infinite source of silica pearls in the form of Phoenix poop. Number 27 is the Diplodocus, and the only ability this thing has is in its saddle, as it has a 10-seater saddle, which is like the only creature to have this. So you can kind of use it as like a mobile bus, even though it doesn't even do damage or anything. And I don't know if you're ever going to have that many people, but if you do have 10 people that you need to travel by land, then I guess you can use this thing. Number 28 is the Daedon. This one actually has a super useful ability, and it is the healing ability. You can basically have it heal everything in a radius, and it just takes a bunch of food. This one's pretty useful for boss fights. Number 29 is the Beaver. This one has the ability to harvest a ton of wood, and has a weight reduction on the wood it gets. It also has weight reduction on stone, I think, as well, but it can only harvest wood. It gets a decent amount of it, though, and has a smithy for a saddle. Number 30 is the Megalodon. This one actually has 2 abilities that are both pretty good. First off, it has a pack bonus, so the more Megalodons that are in the area, it will get a buff, making it stronger, and of course, it's going to make all the other Megalodons stronger as well, the more they are. It also has a bleed attack, so it can do percentage damage over time. Number 31 is the Parasaur. This one actually has 2 abilities as well. Both of them are really good abilities. which make this thing a great starter tame as well. First off, it can scare off smaller creatures like raptors and stuff with the little roar it has. It does have a pretty big cooldown though. And then it also has the radar scan ability, which will basically like ping everything in the area, so you can use it to detect like upcoming enemy players or just enemy dinosaurs that are in the area. Number 32 is the Stego. The Stego also has some pretty cool abilities. Basically has the different plate mode options. If you put the plates flat down, it will give better harvesting and thatch. And then if you put them kind of like at an angle, you can use it to harvest berries. So you can gather tons of berries. It also has a weight reduction on berries as well. So you can use this thing to get a ton of different berries and all kinds of stuff like narco berries and stuff. And then if you put them straight up or whatever, that'll allow you to harvest wood. So this thing can actually harvest wood too, which is awesome. And number 33 is the Shastasaurus. This one has a ton of abilities, and I'm not going to be going in depth on all of them. I'm just going to be going over them quickly so you know what it does, but it does have a ton of cool abilities. First off, it has the sonar ability, which is basically like the ping thing from the parasaur we just talked about. Basically just pings everything in the area. Then there's the flashbang, which I would imagine is like a Call of Duty style flashbang grenade. And then we have the pulse thing, which knocks everything back that's around it. So if you're being attacked by a bunch of stuff, you can knock it back with the pulse. And then obviously it has the giant submarine saddle too, being the unique ability of this thing. So you can have a submarine in Ark with the Shastasaurus, and then you can actually put dinos and stuff in it too. Number 34 is the Thorny Dragon. This one's found on Scorched Earth and has the ability to gather wood, which is the only wood gatherer on Scorched Earth, making it quite useful, even though it's not as useful once you get the chainsaw, but you can still use it early game. Number 35 is the Utyrannus. This one also has some pretty unique abilities. It has the different roars. First off, it has the Fear Roar, so you can kind of scare off smaller creatures and like some medium-sized creatures, but it's going to take multiple roars to scare them. And then it has the Courage Roar, which will basically buff creatures around them, giving them extra damage and extra resistance, which makes that essential for boss fights. Number 36 is the Doedicurus. This thing harvests stone, and it's the best stone gatherer in the game. You can basically just harvest any rock and you'll get stone, as well as sand from Scorched Earth, and it gives a weight reduction on the stone as well. And number 37 is the new Zafactinus. This one has a pretty cool ability, even though I don't see much of a use for it, but you can basically flop on land by jumping onto the land, and then you can like flop around. You will eventually suffocate to death, but it's kind of funny to look at and jump around, and it's quite unique. And number 38 is the Moss Chops. This one is an early game tame that's super useful because it has the ability to harvest stuff like fiber, and you can also upgrade the different harvesting modes so you can like get better efficiency in different things you want to harvest. Number 39 is the Manta. This one has the ability to jump out of the water, which only this and the new Zafactinus have the ability to do. It's pretty cool, but that's pretty much the only cool thing that the Manta can do is jump out of the water. And then if you also touch the land, it'll instantly die, so definitely don't do that. At number 40 is the Megatherium. This one is an insanely useful creature and insanely strong. Basically, the abilities it has is if it kills anything that gives you chitin, so basically giant bugs, it will have the insect killer buff that gives it like a huge damage increase and a huge damage reduction for like damage you take, so it has resistance, making it insanely strong. At number 41 is the Gigaraptor. Added earlier this year, you can put babies in the saddle bags or whatever, these little saddle pouches, and then you can also imprint them with the Gigaraptor instead of doing it the normal way, as well as being able to carry the babies. And you can also do a roar that locates all babies in the area, including the wild ones, because Arkason now has wild babies, so you can find all of them with these little icons on the screen. Number 42 is the Lystrosaur. This one might seem useless, but it does have a pretty cool ability, and if you pet it, it gives an XP boost to all the creatures around it, so you can get a little bit of extra XP, and this thing's pretty easy to tame. Number 43 is the Dunkleostusis. This one is pretty slow underwater, but it has a really cool ability. It can harvest pretty much everything underwater. You can harvest stone, oil, metal, crystal, and it has weight reductions on all of them. And number 44 is the Argentavis. This is one of the most useful creatures in the game because of the abilities it has, like being able to pick up creatures and pick up creatures in its mouth, but it also has a weight reduction on all kinds of different resources like crystal, metal ingots, obsidian, polymer, and stone, which are all super useful resources that you can basically use the Argentavis to haul them around in the skies. Number 45 is the Therizinosaurus. This thing is insane. It harvests pretty much everything in the game you could need, like wood, fiber, hide, meat, chitin, all that stuff, and you can also upgrade its harvesting levels. It has power harvesting and delicate harvesting. The difference is this main attack, that's the power harvesting, and then the little tickle it does is the delicate harvesting. Number 46 is the Phiomia. This one might seem pretty useless, but it has one very useful ability in that if you feed it a ton of stem berries, it will make it poop a crap ton. And the reason you need poop is you can use it for fertilizer, so you can get pretty much an infinite amount of poop this way to turn into fertilizer. As you can see, it got this much poop just from 100 stem berries. At number 47 is the Ankylosaurus. This is one of the most useful creatures in the game for its main ability, which is the ability to harvest metal. It can destroy metal rocks and get tons of metal from them, as well as it can harvest crystal, and it gets flint from rocks. So if you want to use that for flint as well, you can use it too. At number 48 is the Archaeopteryx. This one has two abilities. First off, it can glide, which I feel like most people do know about. But the other ability it has is if you put it on wandering in the redwoods, it will actually gather sap over time. At number 49 is the Arthro. The Arthro has one cool ability, being able to damage tech structures. Not even stuff like gigas and stuff can damage tech structures, so the fact the Arthro can do it is pretty cool. Number 50 is the Leoplorodon. This one is insanely rare and kind of annoying to tame because you need honey, but once you do, the ability it has is it will give you a buff that lasts 6 hours that will increase the loot of anything you get, so you'll get better loot supposedly from it, which is pretty cool, but it does mean that the Leoplorodon disappears after 30 minutes. But that is all the creatures for this video. If you guys did enjoy it or find it helpful, make sure to leave a like and also subscribe. Thanks for watching, and bye.